guys, we are just finishing up our school year and there is a ton of stuff that I want to talk about. And I'm so worried. I'm so worried that I'm going to forget something that I think is super important and it's going to drive me nuts because this is the last video for me for several weeks until we start in the 6th grade. And so I just know something's going to be just niggling at me throughout the summer that I forgot to talk about, but really, does it matter? No, this is like a long trek, so we'll get there. I realized I had started this video and I realized I was giving the rundown essentially of all the things I was going to talk about, and that itself took too long. So I'm going to give you the short version. Ready? Giveaway draw, testing, end earlier than planned, unit studies, botany, physics, main lesson books, necessary reading over summer for me, our state portfolio, our PDF that I give you guys of what we've done or what we've read all year, Morg's TBR for the summer, math, and my year's end video schedule and when I'll be back. All right, so let's start with the draw because this is really fun. And I'm gonna put it in, let's see, there's the Heartwood Hotel. I'll do that first. No one wanted the Judy Boom book. So maybe one of you 3 winners will get this in your box anyway. So I'll do the Heartwood Hotel draw first, and then geography, and then office supplies. And I have, it's kind of too big, so I put it in bowls, but I'm gonna dump it in my favorite bowl. Do you guys have this where you have really nice fancy bowls that you put out for people, and then you've got your $1 Walmart bowl that's 10 years old that you're actually really are using every day? So this is the Walmart bowl. Okay, Heartwood Hotel winner. Let me see. Nashit from Irving, Texas. You are the Heartwood Hotel winner. Congratulations. Maybe you'll also get a Judy Bloom book. All right, I'm dumping those out. Now the geography. This is for the geography books. Lily overseas with the APO address. You win the geography books. Congratulations. And I know all about APO addresses because I had many also when I was in, well, actually federal service, not just the Navy. Office supplies. There were a lot of you who wanted the office supplies, which was really cool. Jesse from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. You win the office supplies. Congratulations. Thank you for letting me do this. I know I have been in email contact with so many of you, and all 3 of you are new to me. I don't know that I've spoken with you in email before, but over the time that I've been doing this for the last, well, it's not a full 2 years, more like 18 months, I have gotten to know several of you. Several have reached out directly to me in email because you wanted to write more than what is not kind of comfortable, or it seems like the comments in YouTube need to be necessarily short, I guess. But some of you have reached out in email, and I have created such an interesting relationship with many of you. So this is really exciting to kind of give back and also recycle some really loved things that I don't want to, I'd rather give away to somebody I feel like I know or is on the same path as me and who likes the same stuff also. So I think I'm gonna do this every year. It's too fun not to. Okay, I've moved everything out of the way. I will mail the boxes out Tuesday morning after Memorial Weekend, so look out for those. Sometimes things from North Dakota take a little while, but be on the lookout for them. I will mail them Tuesday. Congratulations again to all of you who won. Let's cover our state portfolio because it's right here in front of me and it's huge. I'll show you last year's because I don't have this year's set up yet. It only takes, it's about less than an hour for me to put the portfolio together because I already have this ready to go at the beginning of the year. So before Morgan's 6th grade starts, I will have this all ready for her 6th grade. And in it is already tabbed, or will already have tabbed, just like her 4th grade, all of her required subjects, which is, in North Dakota, we've got some requirements. We have to do at least 4 hours of school a day. We have to do a certain number of days in the year, which is strange because I know we finished, but I can't remember the number. It's escaped me. That always happens when the camera is rolling. Then let's see, what else do I need? There's Oh, the required classes are, I think there's 5. There's ELA, math, science, social studies, and within social studies, there's subcategories, and PE. So I always like to prove that I've done all of those and show a progression. And in addition, I put in Morgan's French because while it doesn't matter to the state, it matters to me, and I like to keep everything together. At the back of the binder, I place legal paperwork, so I always put what the requirements are for North Dakota. I make sure they're up to date, and then I print them out, and they're in every portfolio so that I don't have to go hunting in the last portfolios for them. If I'm curious, I just flip the current portfolio open and look, and then I add a copy of our intent to homeschool that I hand into our school here every year, which I will be doing soon, probably this week, because it's due within 2 weeks of when school starts. But I don't want to forget, because I am going to forget. That's something that's really easy to forget. And they know me, but I still like to keep within the law. I'm happy to do it, so I might as well do it. There are very few things that are required of me. I may as well just do it. That's one of them. And I put that in there, as well as all of Morgan's testing, not grades that I give her or tests that I give her, which aren't that many. Actually, when do I ever test her? I put in the results for her standardized tests, and this year she did the same as last year, the Atom K7, Dora, ELA, and then I kind of made a mistake with Stanford 10, so I'll talk about that during the testing chapter of this video. And I put all of those in. I love to see, I actually may make just a testing binder in addition to the copy that I have in each year's portfolio, so that I can more easily flip through and see a natural progression. I can remember the natural progression, but I think over years, it would be really fun to flip and see, maybe do the stats on how we progressed or how we slowed down in certain times. Because I understand that middle school is a time for many changes, and kids become rapidly interested in something that perhaps they weren't interested in. They become slower in other things. So I don't know, maybe you'll see that next year. So since that was really big, I'm going to move it out of the way. Okay, that's a good segue for testing. We did the Dora ELA and the Atom K7. It was great. They were each under an hour and a half to do. I made sure that Morgan took her time. And I will say that if you're not used to testing, or this is your first time, you want to make sure that you encourage your child before the test starts. And this is where IXL really helped, because IXL is testing, which is, I had purchased it for fun to see if Morgan liked using it during our month of review and revision for the year. And I took that opportunity to do a few things. One was to remind Morgan that it's important to slow down. We're not in a hurry. I think it's really easy to rush through multiple choice, because as the child, there seems to be, at least with mine, the expectation that there's A, B, C, and D available. One or several of those is the right answer. So since it's there, I should be able to pick it quickly. And so we practiced slowing down. That really helped. It really helped. Also, to make sure that Morgan has a fresh junk book right next to her so that she can work out every problem. And I encouraged her to work out every math problem, whether she knew it or not, because I think that that's really good practice to show that this is not a speed test. We're not in a hurry. We're not going anywhere. There's no stress. Maybe timing will become a part of the testing later on. It isn't for me now. I don't care how long it takes her to do it. I just want to know that she can do it with whatever time she needs. So I'm not sure if I mentioned that in the testing video that I did a collab with Michelle G and the Mama Librarian, but it is something that I found to be really important for testing. Now for Stanford 10, because we did that last year and we were going to do it this year, which we are, but I, mama that I am, forgot that I need to give, I think it's 5 weeks notice to Stanford 10 that I want to test. And I remembered to order it within 3 weeks of our test date. So I screwed that up. And while we're on summer break now, Morgan's agreed that in a week and a half, on a Monday and a Tuesday, she'll come back to the table and do the Stanford 10 test for me. She doesn't mind, but test day is fun. She can knock it out in the morning and still have time to go to the pool all afternoon, so it'll be fine. But it's something to remember, to put in my calendar of, hey, hurry up and order this, or don't hurry up, but get it done on time, have it ordered and not be in a rush. And if you haven't tested before, do not be in a rush to test, because especially the setup, the initial setup to start testing and to understand how each one works, it's really important to not be rushed. It's really important for the mom to log in, to manipulate the system, to get used to it a good week before you test. And then the evening before, double check that you've got all of the links that you need, that you've got the passwords that you need. Really double check that, because it is so stressful for everybody involved when you are trying to get it done in the morning. And I knew that that would happen to me if I didn't prepare last year. So I did prepare, and it was just a seamless test time, a seamless test week, which I really wanted. So I'm annoyed with myself that I screwed up with that. Not going to do that again. Note to self. Let's see. We ended the year earlier than planned because, well, a few things. We're just done. We finished. We did the month review, or I planned the month review, because last year I learned that we just needed to do something different in May. And so we switched it up a little bit last May. This May, I decided to use it as a month to review. And now I'm learning that that was too long. We don't need a full month of review and revision, especially when the weather is so nice out here. It's freaking beautiful. And it's miserable knowing that, especially we were going to go longer into the school year when all of the rest of the town is on vacation. That was a mistake on my part that I'm not going to do again. So I have already planned the next year to end on the same day as every other kid. So while we're going to do mainly the 6 week on, 1 week off schedule, we will end to have like a mini summer break. We will end on the same day that everybody else does. And we also didn't need 4 weeks of revision and review. That I think after week 2, we were ready. So next year, I have in my notes, while we will break to do review and revision and just focus on our core, which is French, math, and English, or reading rather, we will do that, but we will only do it for 2 weeks and then finish doing that on Friday, and on Monday test. So their testing week will be the end. But the cool thing is that because I had realized that, and because we did so much school, we do a lot of school, we kind of cram it in the first semester. It's worked the last 2 years, and I'll probably do that again next year. And I'll just keep doing it until it doesn't work anymore. Because of that, I was able to stop school. Not early, I mean, early for us, but not shortened. So we're still well within legal parameters of North Dakota. And I feel comfortable with that. That makes me feel good. I liked the ability, and I will continue to make sure that I have the ability to halt and stop or take a break whenever we want in the second semester, because our second semester, clearly the last 2 years, has been slower than our first semester. And I like to have that squishy room. So that's something also that I'm going to continue to plan, is that if I make a screw up, if I make a mistake at near the end of the year, it's okay, because I've got extra time. What I also wanted to do is remind you that I will put a PDF link, and sometimes I say that and then I don't. And then 2 or 3 of you remind me, hey, can you put the link down below? So those 2 or 3, can you please remind me if I didn't do it when this video is published? But we've finished our school year for reading, and I now have all of the 4th grade and all of the 5th grade, all of the books that we read for school. So I will continue to do that and add to it. So next year I'll have the 6th grade and 7th grade. I just like to do it. It's fun. But also for moms who are behind me, I think it would be nice to have kind of an anthology or a good meaty list of some things that another mom has done or read with her kids that you can pull from and say, oh, I hadn't thought about that book, or I hadn't considered that book. Because let's face it, there are a lot of books that I read that just aren't really out there, and because I'm a little out there and it's nice to see other people's lists. I love many of the things that you'll see on there are books that you guys had suggested also. So I will have that list, the PDF listed below. And I don't know that I'll update it every month, because part of it is there's a linking issue with, if I update it, it won't update the link that is in the previous video. And so things on YouTube cause that to be confused. So what I might do is only give it to you once a year, but you'll know throughout the videos what we're reading anyway, because I also make sure most of the time that I have that in the timestamps. I'll break here and then do a quick flip to show you a comparison of the unit studies calendar that I had prepared at the beginning of the year and the unit studies that we actually completed, because I think it's kind of, I want to hold myself accountable, because I like to have that calendar in advance to know that I have a progression that I knew that I wanted to go in, but I also want to make sure that it's okay. I have squishy room. It's okay if I do or I don't do something, but I thought I would show you the before and after of here's what I had planned in the video because of the video that I had shown you, and here's what we actually did. It's similar enough that it makes me happy. So we'll flip and I'll show you that real quick. I have several copies of this that I like to keep, and one was in here because I'm putting these away. Oh, they're going to be gone. They've been so fun. I've loved this book. This is a fantastic planner for me. It's very, very minimalist. And I kept our main lesson or unit studies calendar here, but because it's kind of unwieldy to work with you guys, I had photocopied it and kept it. So here is what it was. This is what it is in the book. And then here are the differences so that we can kind of compare and contrast. And it's kind of neat. Some of the things that I had ditched Beowulf and the Plague because I explained Beowulf, and the Plague I wanted to wait because I realized we're full. So the Plague and the Ferret, these were problem-based learning from Royal Fireworks Press. I really, really like them. So the Plague isn't going anywhere. It's just in stasis right now. We just are not covering it for a little while. But I'd like to cover several of the PBLs in high school as an actual one semester PBL course. We can even redo the ferret studies there, because we were really kind of peripheral, kind of 1,000-mile plan with the ferret PBL because we're in the 5th grade here. So some of it was a lot more in depth than I think we needed to go this year for the PBL. And I think we could do it really well in depth in high school. So we had started World School because the idea was to go away here to France, and instead we're pushing that off, and we have a plan to go to summer school to do French class over the summer while my husband is here manning the farmstead with the giant dogs. Morgan and I are going to go off for several weeks to France there. It would have been way cheaper. I did the math on this. It's so cheap. Wait, am I looking at April? February. Yeah, okay. It would have been so cheap to go either in February or April because those aren't the tourist seasons. But also, I couldn't get Morgan into a French class until the summer. They won't take anybody younger than 16 years old in a lot of the schools. And so until then, it is what it is. But I will do a separate video when I come back for those of you who are following what we're doing with French, because I have found several ways to keep this as cheap as possible, but also really enjoyable. So I'd like to cover that separately in a video. So that kind of changed and got filled in with Man and Animal. So here we did Man and Animal, and we had only done, I think we did 2 weeks there, and then we did the Ferret PBL, and then Norse Myths. So we're kind of good with, we're tracking fairly well, and then the Kalevala until we hit the bakery pop-up. And I had explained that we got really sick of cookies. We got so sick of cookies. We got really sick of it. And it's actually not a very healthy sport, but we did some of the kind of the business part of it, but I don't think we did it very well because we were backing up against taking a break and our heads were elsewhere. So no harm done. I had created it, and Morgan is still baking away. She's trying to do croissants on her own, and she's thinking about doing macarons. The kid cooks. She bakes, and it's just unbelievable. She doesn't have to do that for school. But later on, honestly, if she's really that into it, we we may be looking into baking school for her later on. Who knows? Okay, then I took Beowulf off and the plague, and we had a little bit of a break here, and we did geography instead. And this is where the geography would have been. And I was only going to do state geography because we did a lot of geography last year. We loved it. We loved geography so much. We were in no hurry to finish. We did a lot. We know all of our states. We know our capitals. We did tons of geography. So I'm really happy with that. And I'd like to build on that next year and do more geography. And then here we did health. And we also continued on, I didn't write this, but in review and test period for May, we also did, every Friday we did health as well, quite in depth. And we did the, part of health is also internet health and social media. And we talked a lot about that. So then where test prep would have been, we were here in May. Let's see. And then man and animal, we moved to here and we did a good 3 weeks there. But we are done with school here. So I do need to change this because I did this before we stopped. So I do need to change that. But next year, we only need to do 2 weeks of test prep and then test and then be done. So this is also the only part that this is the accurate thing minus these 2 weeks here. Yeah, not bad, but you can see that stuff changes, right? Who cares? It doesn't matter that it changes. What it matters is the reason for the change. If the reason for the change is because I didn't have it together, or I just didn't have a plan, or I wasn't paying attention, I certainly wouldn't be paying attention if I didn't have a plan, like a whole full plan like this. But this is not going to, this guides me. It doesn't rule me. Life events rule me, but this is the guide to make sure that I stay on some kind of track. I feel like we did that. Okay, and then for botany, that's what we're going to start with in the 6th grade. And we're doing the 5th grade live education. So that's why if you're kind of confused that I've got a 6th grader, but we're doing 5th grade, which it doesn't matter what grade, it's because I wanted to do certain things in an order, and that's how it worked out. But then following that, I'm adding physics at the end of next year, because I started physics in 6th grade. I really want Morgan to start physics in the 6th grade. So we're kind of starting to go all over the place with live education. And this is probably, 6th grade will be probably the last year that we use live education. So we'll have only used it for 2 years, but not because we don't like it. It's because we're morphing and moving on, and I'm doing things in so much of a different array. And as they get older, they have different US history main lessons that I'm not interested in doing. I want to do US history in a different way. And so I am taking the main lesson Waldorf style, and I'm beginning to do my own subjects. But with botany, I've already started because we actually want to grow the plants. And I'm doing botany and herbology with Morgan next year. So we're going to kind of morph those together. Morgan's already, well, we're planting her seedlings. So she's already grown all of her herbs, plus basil, which is also an herb, and medicinal, and tomatoes and cucumbers. That she always does her trilogy. Every year, Morgan grows basil or basil, depending on where you live, cucumbers and tomatoes. That's her thing. She always grows those. So since she's doing that, I'm going to use what she's grown for the science of our botany, as well as the herbs that she's going to create for her herbology class. And I've started the main lesson because I am realizing after this year that it's going to be so much easier. I get it. I know how it works. I know what I need to do. And so I really want to have my main lesson book prepared in advance. And it's okay if Morgan's is a little different, or if I want to tweak mine and change the pages later. But it's going to be a lot easier if I have the main lesson book just ready to go. So I'll flip you around and I will show you what I have so far for botany, and the gapped pages as well that I haven't finished, but that I will likely conclude before the school year starts. We're doing botany a little out of order for live education or for Waldorf style because Morgan and I are growing all of the plants. And so while they're growing into August, we'll be able to do the actual part of botany instead of fungi, which you're supposed to start with. It is out of order, but we'll do it all. Here's the cover that I thought I would do with a collage. I've been practicing collage because one thing I can do is create the papers, or we can work on these papers just for fun, staining tissue paper ourselves, and then have a whole pile to get ready to then quickly create this cover. So this cover was done in, I think I timed it at 20 minutes. It's super, super fast. That means cutting if they've already been stained. If the tissue paper's already been stained, it means cutting the tissue paper, doing the background in watercolor, doing the title, and putting down the paper and having it stick. That's 20 minutes. Then here's my proposal for how I want to start. And I've got like little reminders all over here, but this would be the definition, because we're going to do botany and herbology at the same time together. I think they intertwine really well. I'll have Morgan do a definition of botany and herbology so that we understand the difference of the two, and then a definition of what a plant is. And here, if you can't read it, it's got Morgan's pictures of her garden here. So while everything in Waldorf is the child's own original work, I also believe, instead of, to make things faster but just as effective, I believe that if Morgan takes the photographs of her own garden, does the work to print them out, and does the right size and cuts and pastes it, this is equivalent to, this will go into her long-term memory when she does this. So she'll have pictures of her own garden here, so her own artwork, her own photography. And then I proposed that we go through the plant kingdom and the different sections of it. And here there's two things missing here that aren't in the plant kingdom list, but one is so we're going to do a monocot and dicots here, the monocotyledon and a dicotyledon, and I want to make sure I put those two here because we'll cover that as well. And then this is a reminder to do flashcards, and then there's a really good video of plant kingdom that I also want to watch with Morgan. The next part would be parts of a flowering plant, and again, this is just a reminder for me to make flashcards, because Pepper and Pine does this, and I really like the idea of having flashcards ready to go so that we can use them later on to continue to remember all these. There is a ton of science vocabulary in these new science courses that we're now taking. And so I think that the flashcards would be a great idea. And again, a reminder, I'm saving all of the videos, so a reminder of what the video is. And also, let's see, did I do one thing that I started to do later on the pages is here at Source Britannica, is we're going to start sourcing our information. We didn't do that this year. I just don't think it's necessary. I also think that there's no such thing as plagiarism as a 4th grader or a 5th grader. It's not plagiarism yet. What they're doing is dictation and reading. They're not stealing anybody's work. They're just learning. And now I think in the 6th grade, it's important to cite our sources and to make sure that it's not word for word. So we'll begin to talk about that too. So this is also the beginning of our future learning how to study and learning how to produce original work based off of other people's work. So this page will be titled My Herb Garden. This will be I'd like Morgan to paint the page first in a light watercolor, and then she can add her own photography here. And then it says, I wrote, Morg does a write-up about her garden. So what is important? What is she like? What does she dislike? What were some problems that she encountered? What overall did she grow? And also a list of her favorite plants and why. Because the next these pages are really strangely thick. You can't tell if I'm doubled up or not. Because the next many pages are exactly that. The herb that she's grown, the title, an image, and or a photograph, her own photograph. I have here as a reminder to discuss when an herb becomes a medicine. When does it stop being just something you're cooking with? And when does it turn into medicinal herb? And then here would be either the medicine that she's made, or the tea that she's made, and she has to have made it, which would be the recipe for it, along with photos. After we've covered every single one of those separately and give it its own space, the idea here is to list the flowers that she's grown and why, because she loves zinnias, and so she's grown them on her own from seed, as well as marigolds that we're going to put in the backyard garden. And so she can put those, and poppies. She's growing poppies. Those were not easy. Those are fiddly little guys when they're little. That was kind of annoying. but they turn out pretty good. So far, so good anyway. And then photos and drawings with a write-up of the flowers that she's grown. And here I'd like to have some pressed flowers or dried flowers from her garden, or perhaps take petals from the garden and dip them in paint and press them here. So she's not drawing the leaf, but it actually is a image of the leaf, of the actual leaf, as well as either a write-up or perhaps poetry, because I really like Morgan's poetry. So I'd like to add that a few times along here as we can throughout the year. And then here is where we're going to pick up. I don't think that you can talk about any kind of earth science without actually talking about soil. And so I've got the basic soil types right here at the beginning of learning about the complicated nature of soil. And here would be what a healthy soil is, with the three main things that you want to consider for a soil, as well as the pH. So what I wanted to do was, you can, if you don't know this, you have an extension agent. Wherever you are, you have an extension agent that's attached to your extension university, and ours is North Dakota State University. So if you're not sure which university is your extension agent, which is a person who can assist for free with any question you have about anything involving your soil, your trees, anything in your garden. And they also do soil testing. So if you look online and find your extension agent, if you don't know how to do it, just call them or email them and say, hey, I'm new, I don't know what you do, but I need this, this, and this. Can you help me? So what we will do is send some soil samples to NDSU. I'll have Morgan fill out the paperwork. And this part's not free, because when you send it in, they do the testing. I think each soil sample is $20. I think each one is $20. So maybe we'll just do one, maybe we'll do two, whatever. And then when she gets the results, we can paste the results here and have like a flip page and flip it down, and that'll be the actual results. And then I thought Morgan could write a kind of a summary of what soil type we are. From here, I'd also like to do a soil pH test to test our soil. This will be for worms, because worms are important. I'm not original. I don't need to be original, but this is, I also need to remember to cite my source here. So I need to write down that this is from Wiggling Worms at Work. And it's like a stage 2 reader, but gosh, I got this from my sister. All of her kids read it. But that picture here is what I decided to use as inspiration for our worms. And this looks pretty complicated, but the thing is, it's all collage and background watercolor. I think we can do this in easily under an hour. And then this is the information on worms that we have as write-ups so far, with the citing of where it is. Oh, and then I also wanted to mention, these are typed for a reason. Morgan is going to she's going to do a lot of writing, for not science, but for writing. And her hands get really tired, but she's capable of producing more information than she is writing. So I thought that I'd take the opportunity to use Botany as her beginning typing course. So she'll be using typing.com. Many of us use it. It's free. It's actually quite good. I was messing around with it for a week. I'm a fast typer, but with like 6 fingers. I don't know what to do with these guys over here. But I thought that as she learned to type, she could begin to do her write-ups, because then she can learn the laptop a little bit better, and then produce these on her own. And then what I thought we would do is tape these so that they fold in. Who knows? I don't know. Could be overkill. Then let's see, what do we have? Oh, the USDA plant hardiness zones, and what that means and what it means to us. And then here is what a monocot is and a dicot, or a monocotyledon and a dicotyledon plant. Then a seed sprout experiment. This will be any seed. It doesn't matter. It could be a monocot or a dicot. I'm going to have Morgan pick the seed. Here's the plan: to use water crystals, and then I have these tubes. I haven't opened them yet, but it's tubes are little containers, glass containers that you can fill with gel, and then fill it with water, and that's where you put the seed. So then you can see everything about the seed. And daily, I think daily, what I want to do is have Morgan take a picture of what's going on here, not draw it, just take a picture of it, and do one here and one here, here for 14 days. So I'll make sure to pick, because some seeds will just sit around and not do anything. So I'll make sure to pick one that comes up really, really fast. Then I'd like to show the progression of what happens as the seed opens up and comes out from the top, and what's going on in down below too, because we often forget there's a lot of activity that's going on where we usually can't see. So that'll be one of our lab experiments. And then another experiment similarly is going to be growing a monocot and growing a dicot, and what true leaves mean on a dicot, because a lot of plants pop up with their first leaves are not their true leaves, and so the first leaves come up and you have no idea what that plant is. Those leaves are not indicative of what that plant's going to be. And then the second leaves are the true leaves, and you can immediately identify, I know that's a tomato, I know that's a cucumber. We can start them. In fact, we should start these at the same time as the first day of class when we do the main lesson and introduce botany or herbology and do our cover. So we can go straight out into the lab, which is our shop, and do the work there. Then here will be a drawing of green plants and photosynthesis. So the idea of what is happening with the whole plant and what photosynthesis is. And here will be plant tissue under a microscope, plant cell diagram. This one will be plant roots with the eye, with just your eye. And we can draw what we see here with our experiment. And then plant roots, the same plant, we'll take it out and we'll investigate it under the microscope and do an image there. Also a carrot that's dyed and place it under a microscope. And here is celery capillary action or capillary action experiment. That's a kind of a fun, really fun one. I thought we'd do a rainbow of celery stalks and just make it fun and pretty. Then the plant circulatory system. And then this one is of how plants are made. Then this is, there's so much vocabulary. So we're going to start our glossary at the back, like a glossary usually is, but we're going to go Arabic style. We're going to read it backwards because I don't know how many more pages for the second half of the main lesson will be in the second semester. So we'll start our glossary here and work backwards, and it will not be in alphabetical order. I'm not going to be that person. I can't do that. And so it doesn't matter. I just don't want to run up against, if I start the glossary here and then I would have needed an extra page, I don't want to have that happen. So the glossary will go backwards and the main lesson will go in this direction. And then this page will be the second half, which is fungi and conifers and all that stuff. We'll do that. I'm not even close to being there, but I might be. I might be completely done by the end of the summer. We'll see how I feel. That's the plan. Now for physics, I hadn't talked about a book or teaching physics next year in the 6th grade during my curriculum picks video. I cannot say that. I cannot say curriculum picks video. That's so hard for me to do. I hadn't shown you in that video, one, because I forgot, and two, I hadn't bought the book. But I've decided to go with, and here's the thing, because it's live education in the 6th year, and you can't just buy one subject with live education with that program. That's their choice. They sell their curriculum as an entire block, and they're not a homeschool curriculum. They're a school, and they sell to homeschool teachers. So I totally get it. I'm not going to purchase their curriculum for that, but I am going to start with Physics the Waldorf Way, grades 6 through 8. And you can buy grade 6, grade 7, grade 8. But I know that I'm going to teach physics in the 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade, and then again a high school physics full 2-semester course or full credit course, probably a 1.5 credit, because she'll be doing lab with probably all of her sciences in high school. I really like this book. I flipped through the whole thing. I have read it, highlighted it, looked through everything, and one thing that it said in there, it's got a timeline for when the teacher should prepare for the main lesson. And as I read it, that's the reason why I did the botany main lesson book as much as I could right now to show you, because in it said, get it done. Get it done the year before, and then the summer before, do the experiments yourself. The experiments shouldn't be done the first time in front of the kid or in front of your students. It should be done well in advance, at least a couple of times, and then the weekend before, you should do it again by yourself to make sure it's set up, and then you should have your lab set up before your kids walk in to the lab. And I really want to do, my hair is really annoying. This short hair thing is working out for me most days, but the bangs are driving me crazy. Okay, let's get serious. I was talking about science. I want to be prepared with this. I love the fact that that reminded me of, hey, make sure you have everything in order well in advance. And so this has inspired me to get a ton more done. But I'm really crushing it right now because I want to break too. That's why I don't do videos in the summer. And I really don't want to do a lot of homeschool stuff in the summer. I'm realizing, however, that the botany and the physics are going to take center stage for my attention during the summer because I'm starting to do, we're going to attach a lab to it. And as Morgan's going into the 6th grade, I view the 6th grade as the beginning of middle school. I don't know why everyone doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. You see kids in elementary school in 6th grade and you think, oh, half of them look like they should be in high school already. They don't need to be in elementary. They should be in middle school. And because of that, I think that now Morgan is ready to do a lab and she's ready to do the beginnings of real science and study and investigation. And these 2 courses will be new that in that style, because the man and animal course this last year was our science, and it felt a little squishy to me, like it wasn't sciencey enough, it wasn't investigative enough. And because of that, I want to make up for it, and I want to do it really well and begin to have the science and labs that I remember having as a 6th grader. I had fantastic science teachers in the 6th grade who I also think they were kind of Waldorfy, and I want to do it that way. So there it is. That's what we're going to do for physics. I want to touch on math really quickly because recently one of you reached out to ask me about it, and I think while I have some videos on it, it may be useful to do a real quick where we are, especially with testing. My way is not the right way for you. It's our right way, but my way could help you. Listening to what happened, where we are, you don't have to be where we are to then get a kind of a kernel of an idea of, wait a minute, maybe I could do a part of that or this or this. This is all just idea generation, hoping that it's helpful for you. I'm not a tutorial or anything like that, but we have had a really interesting life with math. And Morgan likes math. She struggles with math. I like math. I struggle with math. When I lived in Omaha, I was working at Strategic Command, and I had a regular, this was the first time I had a regular life. Before that, I had moved 17 times in 22 years. I loved it. It was brilliant. I loved what I did. But then I chose to have Morgan, and I had her when I was 42, and I realized that I couldn't deploy. I couldn't just rush off and go overseas and do whatever I wanted for a month and come back. And I wanted to change my life. And when I did, I settled down, and it was beautiful settling down with Morgan. But I did also a few things that I couldn't do when I was rushing all over the place. And one of those things was math. I realized that my whole life it had bothered me that I was severely deficient in math, severely. And I had started reaching out to university students, like master level students, or at least to the university to ask if I could find a master's level student, because my dad did this for his math that he needed when he worked for the FAA. He needed upper level calculus for some things that he didn't have. And so he paid, it was cash, he paid a university student from CU Boulder to teach him the math that he required, and then moved on to electronics. So I thought, well, I'm going to do the same. But I couldn't find anybody nobody would take my money. It was so weird. I couldn't find anybody who would teach me math. I wish that I knew about homeschool at that time, because I would have just bought a freaking homeschool curriculum and self-taught. So because I was deficient in math and have known a struggle, but also know that, you feel stupid. You feel like an idiot if you don't know a certain subject that other people do. So fast forward to Morgan coming into the 4th grade with me in homeschool and liking math and struggling in it. which is, that's a weird thing. That's a balance that you have to maintain of, you don't want the struggle to be so hard that then they start hating it. And then you have other problems. Then you have the emotional and mental problems of, they come to the table and immediately their demeanor changes and they're already blocking their capability to learn. And so it's been a juggle to keep everything uplifting. And Morgan has really been instrumental in that. She has really helped herself come to the table to do a subject that simply doesn't come naturally. And I'm teaching her that I'm a result of succeeding in things that didn't come naturally to me. There were things in my job that were not natural, and I overcame them. It sometimes beat the pants off of other people who were experts in it, because experts sit back and put their feet up sometimes and don't pay attention to the people who are struggling to earn and learn behind them. And they catch up and they exceed. And I give Morgan examples of how I did that in work and how I'm now with her doing that with math. So then I'm deficient in math and I'm teaching math at the same time is not putting her at a disadvantage at all. In fact, because of our situation, mine and hers, I believe that's an advantage. And if I need help, I certainly will be at least a day ahead of Morgan. I will reach out and ask for help. Greg, my husband, is a fantastic help. Thankfully, I'm a step witch to a beautiful daughter who is just got her master's in biomedical engineering. She has a little math. So if I need her, I can ask. If you don't have those things, it doesn't mean that you can't find your own resources. Find your resources. It doesn't have to be just math. In whatever it is, find the resource before you need it. And that's what I'm doing. I'm enveloping myself in help and resources because I want to be better in math, and I'm teaching Morgan. So now here we are 2 years later, where we had in the 4th grade, after we finished Saxon 3, we had a hard time with 5-4 and we moved into Math UC. But when we did that, we went all the way back to Alpha. And that wasn't easy emotionally for a kid who knew that she had gaps. To know that we were going that far back was really, really difficult. So I didn't spend a lot of time talking about that in the 4th grade or on video because I don't think that's fair. What I think is fair now is to say that we have absolutely succeeded because we stayed the course. We are incredibly consistent with math. And I have found not a perfect math curriculum, but I have found one that we can work with. The rest is up to me and her and our emotional state. We, barring learning difficulties, barring things that really are need to be addressed in a different way, we don't have those. We simply have a hard time understanding math. And in order for it to gel, we have to work on it longer, like a lot longer. But we go by slow is smooth, smooth is fast. So Math UC helps me. For instance, we hit a glitch at the end of this year with fractions. We aren't going anywhere with fractions. We're delta, or let's see, not delta, but zeta. Zeta is the next after epsilon. Zeta can just sit and wait. I don't care how long it develops dust on that bookshelf. We are not moving away from epsilon until we have it. So if we finish the lesson and we still don't have it, it's okay. We are going to stay on it and go online and pull some more resources until it gels, because that's the way we have to learn it. However, there is also a balance between making sure that we understand it and having a kid who gets bored with the subject, which is where the warm-ups come in and the mental math comes in, and sometimes switching it up, doing something else with math, but still coming back to that place that is difficult. And then every single time we eventually get it. Let's see, I think we're in our 3rd week of having difficulty with a portion of fractions. And unfortunately, we're just coming out of it, and now we're going on break. So That's something, I mean, it's just, well, it is what it is. But I'm not worried about that because I'm so consistent. I will not give up. I'm just not going to give up. And so if you are struggling with math, it may not be the math program. It may just be that you need more time to stay right there in that chapter before you all get it. And I'm not saying that that's the answer for everyone, but I am saying, think about it. Write down all of the things that are troublesome for you, the day of the week that you do it, the time of day that you do math, the type of math that you do, the length of time that you do math. Don't think that because your kid gets frustrated with too long of a math day, don't think that you need to shorten it. In my case, I lengthened it little by little by little by little because I want Morgan to understand that math isn't something you just, get it done and kick it off the table. It has a right in this world and it's really important, and it has a right on our dining room table, on our homeschool table. And so little by little, I have kind of exercised Morgan's mental muscles and emotional capabilities to handle not just a larger amount of math anymore. It's not a large amount of math anymore. Last year was a large amount of math. This year is a long amount of math where we are taking our time with Epsilon to get it done. Anyway, I'm probably going on, and this video is going to be super long, but I really wanted to talk about that because just, replace math with any word, any subject, and think about that. Maybe your kid doesn't need easier math. Maybe they don't need different math, or maybe they do, but a different teaching style or a different way that you approach it. Don't give up. And do keep writing to me if you have struggles in math, because also the things that you have found that work for you are really helpful for me to hear. So I really appreciate those comments. Now, main lesson books. I have had a ton of, probably the most questions I've had are on my main lesson book. And I won't flip you around for these because you've seen it a billion times. I have a whole bunch of videos on this main lesson book, this one here. And it's big, it's massive. It's 2 feet wide when you open it up. And that is why it worked so well this year. And that's also why we're not going to use it next year, because I found it is so unwieldy. We have a big square dining room table. And when Morgan and I are both working on this book, when it opens up and I'm trying to show her stuff, we bump into each other constantly. So while I wanted a bigger book, I needed to move away from this one. However, I will add the link to this, or at least one. This is the only, there are a few like this, but this one was the first that I found, and it was also, I think I got them for like 22 or 25 bucks for 2 of them. They're maybe a little bit more expensive now, but I found them half price at one point. So don't, if you find it, don't buy it immediately. Wait and see if put it in your cart and see if there's a sale later on. But I'll put the link down below. And I'll also talk about a couple of other books. So they're the Waldorf style books with the onion skin on the inside and a certain size or whatever. I don't know why. I never bought them, but part of it is because I wanted to do heavier watercolor, and the watercolor books really hold the water for that. Now we're doing other stuff, and I'm finding that one thing with our courses is that I want to do faster art because we're doing a lot of art elsewhere, and I really want to do original work, and I want to do the artwork for the main lessons for all of our lessons, but I need it to be faster because I want to get it done, and I don't want to rush, but some of our art has taken a long time, and while it's fun, it does slow down our capability of doing more, and I'm going to work on that. So one of the things that I had done with the botany main lesson that I'm planning now on my own is I'm timing how long each page takes. And that I want to make sure that I keep the art to maybe 20 minutes and then the write-up longer. And I just want to do more that way. So that was the book that we used then. And then this is the book, you saw that book with Botany. This is the book that we're doing now. This is the one I just showed you. And I think I had mentioned I wasn't going to use this because Morgan already stole hers from me. So I'm going to have to buy her another one. And I thought, well, then I won't use this. I'll go buy something else. But then when I used this for botany, I realized I really like this book. So I'm going to buy another one for her. And this will be our main lesson book for, at least for botany. We don't have to have the same book for every course. What I might do is move to this one for physics. So the third one that I wanted to show you is the Fabriano, and I don't buy these unless you really want to. I'm just showing you what these are. This is the most expensive book. This one was 25 bucks each. So, and we'd have to have several of these for main lesson throughout the year. That's a lot of money. So I wouldn't suggest doing this one. And this is from Ranger Inc. Here's the cover of it. So this was from Ranger Inc. So I wouldn't encourage you to start with that one because I think it's a little expensive and likely will only do it for botany. And then this is the second most expensive for two for $25, I think, on Amazon right now. This is the cheapest, and this one is Fabriano Ecoqua Original. I bought these on Blick, and the pages are, you will have seen it as my art flip through because I use this. Oh, I love the sound of the pages though. Can you hear that? I love the sound the book makes. It's like, it's the equivalent of smelling a library book. This is the audible version or the audio version. So these are less than $7. I think I got this, I think it was $6.47. They've got 80 pages. How many pages is this? A ton of pages, but they're really thin and they're sort of shiny. So they will hold some watercolor. And if you look at some of the art videos, you'll see that they're crinkled, the pages after you use them. It doesn't matter. Who cares? It adds to the patina of the book. So I think what I would like to do is, because they're inexpensive and there's loads of pages and they're a good size, they come in 3 different sizes. And this is ooh, that was acrylic. Here's some of my collage work that I'm doing. But it holds a lot. So you could do like a physics experiment here or something, and then a big write-up or whatever, or you could do a whole page. Anyway, those are the 3 that I have on hand. This is quickly turning into my own personal favorite art book. And what I may do is buy this bigger one. I could put a link down below, and it'll also show you the other ones as well. There's like a teeny one, but then there's a medium-sized one. And what I may do is for 7th and 8th grade, move to the medium-sized books. So there you have it for books. I wanted to do a quick chat about, as we go into adolescence with a kid going into middle school, we frequently don't talk about this, but as I'm an older mommy, so I've looked at the demographics, and some of you are my age. Most of you are way younger than me. So this is good because I've recently in the last 2 years been chewed up and swallowed by menopause. And now I'm coming out the miserable back end of it and a completely different person. And I'm glad for it. The process is, I would say, as awful as akin to adolescence. It's reminded me that adolescence was kind of crappy, but exciting at the time and new, and all of these feels and all of these new ideas and growth spurts and everything. So while I have a kid who's in the beginning of that, I have recently been reminded of what that's like, except in the reverse order. And it has reminded me that when we teach kids health, we always stop after adolescence, after the beginning and how babies are born. Does anybody talk about menopause? Because if you don't and you haven't, consider putting that on your list, because it is part of a woman's progression, and it is something that is absolutely elemental to living a healthy life as an older person. How the same topics of how to stay healthy, how to eat well, your mental health, your physical health, these are all the topics that you have to revisit when you're my age, that now I'm teaching Morgan as she's going through adolescence. And she has had a front row seat to difficult days for me. And it's been really helpful to just say to Greg, for instance, because I'm up at the crack of dawn, and so I always make the coffee, and he walks in the kitchen, and I swear he sees sometimes this murderous look on my face. My mother used to call me and say, I really today just want to punch somebody in the face. And being able to laugh about it, not contain it, almost always stops it. And so when Greg walks in and sees that look on my face as I'm standing there holding a cup of coffee, he'll stand and he'll raise his hands and say, how are we doing today? And I just tell him, and he says, I got it. Let me know if you need anything. That 99% of the time has completely flipped my day to something better than what it was going to be. And I think that I have progressed through this year so well and so much easier than my fellow companions out there who are going through the same thing. And so I've been able to talk to Morgan about that, and she's seen it. And on the flip side, Morgan's able to talk to me about that, and I remember it. So I know what it is like to have a harder day or to need a slower day. And I have been able to bring forward memories from the 5th grade, my own 5th grade, my own 6th grade, my own 7th grade, to go, oh yeah, we need to go slow today because we're not going to learn anything otherwise. Or we'll check the block, we'll have done the paperwork, but we wouldn't have put it in our minds. Therefore, what's the point? Are we doing this just to shove a piece of paper into the portfolio for the state? Or are we doing this for ourselves? So what has been going on has not hindered homeschool. It has helped homeschool. It's been a fantastic year. And it could have been a disastrous year. So when you get to that point, and especially if you have kids still at home, consider that. Consider it an option to be more positive and enveloping about what's happening, not just with your kids, but with yourself. And also, I will say that Michelle G mentioned, I think it was her, where she said, I think her daughter is a year ahead of mine, that giving her daughter a piece of chocolate, dark chocolate, a little piece when she's having a really tough time, has helped turn around her daughter's mental state and demeanor. And I took that little brilliant golden nugget and I use that. I use that for both me and Morgan. Not a whole bar of chocolate, but I've bought a salted dark chocolate, and I keep it way up in the rafters. And occasionally when one of us is struggling, I bring that out and I crack it open and we sit and we share a little piece, and it just brightens our day. So that's not necessarily directly related to homeschool. I don't know, or is it? Because we're at home and we're moms, these things they're all important, aren't they? I don't have Morgan's TBR with me, but I'll show it up on the screen. Morgan would like to read her book Aragon over the summer, as well as pick back up the Bunnicula series. And it's below her reading level, but is that ever the point? I mean, don't we half the time as adults read stuff below our reading level? And what does that mean? It's about entertainment over the summer. And so Bunnicula is hilarious. She read several of them and she wants to finish the series this summer. So that's what she's going to do. My necessary reading over the summer is all over the place because I'm prepping in the long term for high school still. So I'm still screening books for that for 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. I'm doing some reading for my own personal education and also in prep for next year. So the first one I have is for high school. It's Jean-Jacques Rousseau's The Social Contract and Discourse on the Origin of Inequality. I don't know when I'm going to put that in there or if I will, but I'm beginning to read more philosophy books. And this is one that I'm interested in reading. I want to pick the ones that I'm interested in first. This actually I had already read, and I'm not sure, did I mention that I read Player Piano? One of my cousins told me that this is essentially Brave New World on steroids. It's better, it's more complicated, it's perhaps better written. That was her argument. And so I'd read Brave New World many years ago, and I thought, oh, well, now I need to, why didn't I read Player Piano by Kurt Vonnegut? It's really good. So everybody reads Brave New World in high school or in college, consider looking into Player Piano as either an addition or in place of Brave New World. I'm screening at the pond. Oh, you guys have already seen these. I'm screening at the pond, in the garden, and in the kitchen. And I've already found, for botany, I've already found one essay that I want to do a read aloud or have Morgan read in the garden. And then there's the funny one in the kitchen that I think everybody should read. It's hilarious. The one that I mentioned by Joel Golby, Who Are You When No One Is Watching, about people at a buffet table. It's a riot. We're going to read that next year. It just won't be for botany. So those are screening for essays. And then I had asked my other cousin, I asked him the last time I saw him in February, hey, can you give me some good books to read in prep for geography or climate control or anything like that for high school? And he said, the first thing you need to read is The Goldilocks Planet. And another thing he said is, annoyingly, climate problems it's the only scientific topic that everybody feels like they need to have an opinion on without actually doing the science or studying the science behind it, which is really, that's kind of an interesting thing, because we all have an opinion, right? Is it really happening or is it not? Well, do we need to have an opinion on it until we actually read the facts on it? So between him and my sister, who's a geologist, the answer is emphatically yes. There's a lot of stuff going on, and there are tipping points that are occurring. I want to teach that. I'm very interested in it. So I'll be reading The Goldilocks Planet. The Living Mountain by Nan Shepherd. I picked this up because I'm personally interested in this book. Entangled Life, How Fungi Make Our Worlds Change Our Minds and Shape Our Futures. This will be my personal reading in prep for botany. Becoming Earth, A Journey Through the Hidden Wonders That Bring Our Planet to Life. The Color Purple will be a reader to decide when and where I place it in whatever grade. This is in prep for high school geography, How Cities Work, Suburbs, Sprawl, and the Roads Not Taken by Alex Marshall. I don't know if you noticed, I kind of like geography. Prisoners of Geography, 10 Maps That Explain Everything About the World, Tim Marshall. And I want to pre-read Elizabeth and her German Garden. You saw this as a reader for botany, and I just want to make sure that this is the read aloud that I want to do in botany with her. I picked this up for myself, March, book 1. This is a graphic novel, and I'd be interested in how I want to place this as a reader along with U.S. history next year in the 6th grade. The Wind Is My Mother, The Life and Teachings of a Native American Shaman by Bear Heart with Molly Larkin. I had thumbed through this in the bookstore and I do this frequently. I'll just open it up and start reading. And I opened it to page 80 about a snowfall story. It just made me burst out laughing. And so I wanted to buy the book and read it. Anita and Me, the debut novel of Mira Sayal. This is I think, correct me if I'm wrong, if there are any of you British moms out there, I think this is a GCSE read, I think, or an A-level or something, I'm not sure, but I think this is a common thing that is read in school there. And I never got around to this, but I want to read Indian Idealism. I want to prepare for our Indian main lesson, so I do want to read this over the summer. The Argumentative Indian, Empires of the Indus, The Story of a River by Alice Albinia. And this one is Amartya Sen. And then some of these you've already seen. And then The People Next Door by T.C.A. Raghavan. This should be a fun read. The People Next Door is about Pakistan and India and the relationship, which is a lot been going on there recently. So that should be really interesting topic to discuss, of ancient India plus current affairs between India and Pakistan. So last but not least, next year, this is kind of weird because I was watching this is about my schedule, my video schedule for next year. I was watching one of my favorite YouTube artists, and she was talking about the YouTube algorithm and why she has to do a certain number of videos, and she took a break, a 2-week vacation, and didn't do videos, and it took her a year to recover with the YouTube algorithm. And that really struck me. For one, this is a hobby of mine. I don't make any money. I make no money. The algorithm doesn't like me because I do what I want. That has consequences. So I really get if you're doing this to generate money, that's important for you to do what you need to do for the algorithm. But I don't want to be beholden to an algorithm, and I also don't want to burn out. So that's why I moved to every other week to get through to this next to the end of the year. I wanted to finish strong. I wanted to be a regular publisher. At least you knew where I was going with that. But I also want to move all of my hobbies around so that all of them gets an appropriate amount of my attention and the right amount of attention that I want to give. So with that, I am going to move to monthly videos, and they'll be longer. My plan is not to grow this channel much bigger. I'm happy to have a few hundred people who are like-minded who tune in to me. That's very giving to me. That I get a lot out of you guys. I don't need 10,000 of you to give to me. I just really appreciate the outreach that this medium provides. So I will move to once a month, and they'll be longer, and I will spend less time editing because I'm doing more as my life changes, and as I move towards doing different things with Morgan, we're going to be a lot more mobile. And because of that, there may be times where I'm gone for a week or two. And I don't want to miss a video that I promised, and I don't want to have to publish a video when I'm not prepared to do so. I think once a month will be really good, and they'll be longer. I don't know. Few of you guys, enough of you like the longer videos that I think I can get away with this. So what I may do is I will do once a month videos, and you will know when those come out. I think the first of every month, which also means that I may do year-round, so 12 videos a year. I won't do the breaks that I have been doing where I break for December and I break for the summer, but I'll do videos all throughout the year. So that is where we are. And the first video will not, however, come out on the 1st of August. It will come out on, let me see. I think my first video when I come back from breaking it is the first week of August, but it's not the 1st of August. But I will put a thumbnail kind of as a place saver with a notification of when that's coming so that you'll know. But I will be back in the first week of August, and I wish you a fantastic summer. If you haven't braked yet, I wish you a great, full, strong finish to your school year. And I appreciate you. Thank you for being with me. See you in August.